Hello all, we are back with this another podcast, and we have developed this podcast specifically for MSME owners and IT professionals who are serving MSMEs. I'm going to talk about 5 common misunderstandings of MSMEs about information technology. I'm going to narrate those misunderstandings. I'm going to reason why those misunderstandings are misunderstandings and what are the facts. So let's see. So the first misunderstanding I would like to talk about is IT policy enforcement. MSMEs are under a gross misunderstanding that for IT policy enforcement, very expensive hardware is required, expensive softwares are required. Let me explain what we mean by IT policy enforcement. Every MSME now wants that its user should not be an admin of the system. Every MSME wants that user should be restricted to certain applications as required by his job profile, and he should be able to use only those applications. Every MSME owner wants to have very standard IT environment in which user has limited rights and admin can control the users. They want selected users to connect from outside. They want selected users to work on selected folders. They want certain users or certain department should not be able to access the data of certain other department. So all this is widely known as IT standardization. So we should have policies so that our IT is standardized. And the misunderstanding is, in order to standardize the IT, in order to enforce the policies, we need to have one server hardware on which we can make domain controller, we can install Active Directory, and we have to pay client access licenses for every computer system which is going to be under that IT policy enforcement. It is the misunderstanding. There is a concept called device hardening, and there are the products called device hardening agents. Our product Blackbox is one of the device hardening agent which does this IT policy enforcement far more cost effective than the alternatives. So this is the first misunderstanding. You can have complete IT standardization. You can enforce all the policies you want in your organization without spending a lot of money. Go for device hardening agent and the job is done. Another misunderstanding I would like to talk about is remote application access. Most of the MSMEs want their users who are traveling or working from home to access their accounting applications, CRM applications, operations management applications remotely. Many a times MSME owners also want to access these applications from outside. Mostly they are advised that they need to have a terminal server. They need to have a hardware on which they need to set up terminal server. They need to buy remote desktop CALs, and they need to open the port of remote desktop on their internet static IP, and people can take remote connection of their server and access these applications. This is expensive way of doing it, and more importantly, it is not the secured way of doing it. It is mostly a backdoor for ransomware. There are alternatives, and this misunderstanding has to go. There is a concept of application virtualization. One can very easily virtualize the application for the remote user without taking the risk of opening the IP address and opening the remote desktop connection and giving access of entire server to the user. Application virtualization works very efficiently and in very secured manner. It can be done over VPN to add another layer of security. It can be even accessed in browser, so even you can access Tally from browser without worrying about the security. So application virtualization actually breaks the misunderstanding that in order to give remote application access to the users, one needs terminal server and RDP CALs and the server hardware. No. Our product Blackbox AAA, we call it Access Application Anywhere, does the same job faster and more cost effectively. The third misunderstanding I want to talk about is about cloud backup. Most of the MSMEs take some space from Amazon or Google or Azure or Dropbox and then map certain folders from their computers or the servers with those cloud storage. And then they believe that their cloud backup is all set. It is a misunderstanding. When you do this, theoretically it is all set, but the user can change all the settings you have done. You might have mapped the right folder with the cloud storage, hoping that backup will happen from that folder to the cloud storage. User can change that particular mapped folder itself. User has all liberty to save data elsewhere other than the folder which is mapped with the cloud storage. So it is a misunderstanding that mapping the folder with the cloud storage, sets the cloud backup and it helps. No. You need device hardening such that user is forced to save data in that particular map folder which is actually mapped with the cloud storage. The device hardening must restrict the user to save the data anywhere other than that mapped folder. Not only that, but also user should not be able to change the cloud backup settings done by the administrator of the system through the use of device hardening. The fourth misunderstanding I would like to talk about is about ransomware. The misunderstanding is, if I have antivirus, if I have a firewall, ransomware cannot do anything wrong with me. No, it is the misunderstanding. Let me explain the concept of 0 day. 0 day is the day on which a new ransomware or virus is launched. Most of the firewalls and antivirus systems take time to study the modus operandi of that particular ransomware, the structure of that particular ransomware, and then they take time to update their systems to counter it. And that particular time frame, which could be 2 hours to 2 weeks depending on the complexity of the ransomware, that time window of 2 hours to 2 weeks is 0 day. On that 0 day, from that specific ransomware, even if you have antivirus, even if you have firewall, you are not protected. So you need to have a plan B. Plan A could be a very good plan, having ransomware and firewall, but there has to be a plan B in case I am affected by a ransomware on a 0 day. I should be able to continue my business by recovering the data after the ransomware attack. And that is plan B. Every organization should have plan B. Our product Blackbox serves as that particular plan B. Even if your data is lost due to ransomware, you have all chances that you can recover the data after the ransomware attack if you are affected on 0 day. The fifth misunderstanding I would like to talk about is cost of hardware and software. Most of the MSMEs are under impression that hardware and software in IT infrastructure is very expensive. Recently I interacted with a forum in an industrial area where I was made to understand that hardware is expensive and software is more expensive. I was made to understand that a normal computer costs approximately 25 to 30,000 rupees, and on that if we add operating system, some other software, it costs more than the cost of the hardware. That is correct. There are two ways to reduce the cost of hardware and software. First is go for refurbished computers. In any computer system, the most worn and torn part is the hard drive. If you change the hard drive with an SSD one, your performance of the computer drastically improves. After Corona, there are many organizations who have adopted the policy of providing work from home to all its users. So, computer systems in the offices are now up for sale. So, these kind of systems are bought by the vendors, they refurbish them very well, and then they resell it. So, refurbished hardware comes with installed software for which somebody has already paid for, and if you buy that particular hardware which is already loaded with a licensed software, OEM licensed software, you can legitimately use it also. So you can save a lot of cost of hardware and software if you can evaluate refurbished computer. Believe me, refurbished computers make big difference in the cost of your overall IT infrastructure. So these are the 5 challenges I wanted to discuss with you. I wanted to narrate the challenges and why those challenges are challenges and why these misunderstandings can be very well taken care of. Thank you.